Everyone knew that Dr. Redwood was an incredibly fit man with a brilliant dream, but only a few people knew how he achieved that dream. He couldn't just set up his experiment on any suitable world. The story was a bit more complicated than that. In the year 2029, roughly 4 years before Dr. Redwood proposed his idea, humanity made their first contact with extraterrestrial life. These species had a name for themselves that human tongue couldn't pronounce, so the humans just called them the pentapods, due to them having 5 legs. They are exclusively carnivorous and devoured most of the fauna of their world, which caused a mass extinction. Their appearance was a little unnerving and didn't look much like anything from Earth. When they made contact with humanity, their mindset was a little different from a businessman, except on a galactic level. They were infinitely more advanced than humans as well. "Hello there, Redwood," said Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell Yang was the negotiator between Earth and the pentapods, which shows that neither race was too different. He invited Redwood in to discuss his idea. "Nice place, sir," said Redwood. "Yep, it sure is majestic, isn't it?" replied Mitchell. The two men went into Mitchell's room, which was quite huge. Mitchell offered Redwood a seat before sitting down himself. "Now tell me, what is your plan again?" Redwood told him all about his idea about terraforming a world filled with prehistoric creatures and observing their evolution over time. Mitchell's jolly presence slowly shifted to a more serious presence. Redwood eventually took notice of this and stopped talking. Mitchell got up from his chair and stared out an open window. "I'm sure you're aware of Project Aquatica, right?" Redwood shook his head. Mitchell continued. "A while back, we bought a world from the pentapods called Thalassa. The project was basically a rehabilitation program for aquatic life. For some reason, time passes on this world really fast. When we returned to Thalassa, a sentient species emerged. They were descendants of dolphins, but despite that, these things were extremely xenophobic and tribalistic." Mitchell turned to Dr. Redwood. "They lived in a global theocratic government which condones unholy things. When we attempted first contact, these things immediately attacked our men." Mitchell was now in Redwood's face. "They didn't just kill them. They did things to them that you wouldn't want to imagine." Mitchell then turned away, facing away from Redwood. "It didn't take them too long to develop interstellar travel." Mitchell paused for a moment before resuming. "They were relentless. They conquered many worlds, including the outpost worlds of both humans and pentapods. We eventually defeated them, but we lost so much lives." Mitchell turned back around and sat on one of his chairs. I'm so sorry that happened," Redwood replied. Redwood wasn't really sure what to say. Mitchell continued to speak. "The pentapods are still hesitant to negotiate planetary evolution experiments. We're also on a budget. However, we did buy a planet a while back called Magnus." This caught Dr. Redwood's attention. The planet is a little more than twice the size of Earth, and yet only has 80% of Earth's gravity. There's also more oxygen on Magnus than Earth. We were using it for human colonization, but things didn't work out and they had to leave. They did leave behind a handful of genetically engineered terrestrial flora and fauna. I'll give them about 1,000 years before they all die out. Dr. Redwood finally asked another question. "Can I test out my experiment on Magnus?" said Redwood. There was a pause before Mitchell replied. "Well, it's property that we already have, so that means we wouldn't have to negotiate a deal, but," said Mitchell, as he thought about it. After a bit, Mitchell finally accepted Redwood's offer. "We'll give you a portal device, a time machine, terraforming equipment, and animal capturing equipment. Do as you please as long as you keep an eye on it, okay?" said Mitchell. Redwood agreed and went on his merry way. Before he left, Dr. Redwood turned to Mitchell. "Don't worry, sir," he said. "You will not regret this," before letting himself out of the room.